Suburban gang violence has gotten out of control. Bodies keep dropping, and police have no idea what to do to stop these suburban drillers terrorizing our communities.
3 people were shot during a pool party at the mansion.
For this story, we go to a rich suburban hood, home to a deadly suburban gang, known as the Gilbert Goons, a set full of thugs that love catching bodies and smoking on their ops.
Arrests made in the death of Preston Lord. Jacob Meisner is facing first and second degree murder.
Arizona police have been aware of these suburban goons for some time. These guys bring destruction everywhere they go.
Gilbert police say they are now investigating 8 incidents related to teen violence. All of this comes in light of Preston Lord's death in Queen Creek.
The suburban hood of Gilbert is the definition of a no-fly zone. Lock your doors, hide your wife, and stay clear, cause these guys are the real deal. Don't let a Gilbert goon catch you lacking, or these boys are going to roll you up and spark you like all their other ops.
Gilbert police releasing photos of those believed to be involved in the robbery.
Just like in the hoods of Chicago, if you walk around late at night in Gilbert, one of the goons might catch you lacking and jack you for everything you have. These guys are terrifying. And not your average group of white suburban kids. This gang will catch a body and then have their parents bond them out the next day.
It's honestly kind of crazy because we live in Gilbert, which is pretty known to be safe.
It was one of the safest places to live in Arizona until the goons moved in. And now everyone is on edge and locking their doors.
I don't know why a bunch of kids are just out here like deciding to go crazy when, I mean, like, you just gotta let people live. Like, you can't just think it's fun to go out and just fight a random dude.
Now that you guys know about the deadly gang, it's time to get into what they did.
An admission over text, allegedly from suspect Talon Renner. Got in a fight, killed a kid. Guess I don't know my own strength. Renner messaged after Preston Lord was brutally beat up at a Halloween party on October 28th.
So how did a bunch of rich suburban kids get involved with a murder? The Gilbert Goons gang started at a local high school when a group of suburban thugs decided they wanted to start Gilbert's first suburban gang. It started off with only 10 members, but these suburban drillers were good at recruiting, and within a year the set had over 50 goons. They were getting with all the ladies, throwing wild parties and terrorizing Arizona. During this time, the severity of their crimes kept escalating. They broke one partygoer's jaw and gave another partygoer a brain hemorrhage, an injury that will impact you for the rest of your life. They are also deeply involved with Arizona's criminal underworld. They make thousands of dollars a month selling illegal substances in the burbs. But through their reckless and wild antics, they got the attention of the police and were officially labeled a criminal street gang.
Detectives have concluded that the group known as the Gilbert Goons has met the requirements to be documented as a criminal street gang as set forth in Arizona Revised Statute.
And now they were officially stamped as a legitimate street gang. And the streets of Gilbert was steadily getting worse. The Gilbert Goons love to party, so they decided to throw a banger at one of the members' houses. They called up a bunch of pretty girls and threw an open house party. At this party, a bunch of randoms were showing up, but everything was going smooth and the Gilbert Goons were more focused on the ladies instead of starting fights. The goons were going shot for shot and everyone was getting really drunk and having a lot of fun. The thing with alcohol is the drunker you get, the worse your decision-making skills become. And the goons had gotten absolutely blasted. And for no apparent reason, the goons start attacking every guy at the party. Luckily, nobody was seriously injured, but a few days later, they took it up a notch. The Gilbert Goons, whose headquarters was at a local In-N-Out burger, had made it a very dangerous place to eat. This is where they conducted their business, such as the distribution and sale of illegal substances. They didn't like randoms grabbing burgers while they were discussing business. And on December 2nd at the infamous In-N-Out, high-ranking members Jacob Pennington, age 20, and William Hines, age 18, had recently gotten a new pair of brass knuckles and were eager to try them out. The perfect opportunity had presented itself when 18-year-old Connor Jarnigan, who had just gotten out of work, enters the building. A group of goons approach Connor and start wailing on him viciously with brass knuckles, almost killing the young man. Here is how it went down.
We noticed a group of about 10 to 12 kids approaching us, and at first they were really nice.
But eventually Connor says they demanded money, even trying to get in his car.
And when I turned around to grab my keys, that's when he punched me in the back of the head with brass knuckles. And luckily, I didn't get knocked out.
When he came home, I mean, his sweater was soaked in blood.
Hours in the hospital, doctors telling him and his family he was lucky.
I think it was kind of a God thing that I wasn't hit there, because an inch to the left I could have been killed or paralyzed, so.
Brass knuckles can be deadly. This crime was so heinous to the point that lawmakers used it as proof as to why there needs to be more regulations on the sale of brass knuckles in Arizona. The Gilbert goons had gotten reckless and were posting pictures of illegal firearms all over their social media. The Gilbert goons were heavy into the use of illegal substances, especially coke and bars, and a lot of the heinous crimes they were committing was while they were under the influence. And they had no fear of the police. They were posting and selling illegal substances through Facebook. And it's through the sale of illegal substances that the Gilbert goons make connections with a number of different street gangs in Arizona. Real recognized real, and one of the Gilbert goons ended up making a connection with the Pueblo Gangsta Bloods, an infamous blood set in Arizona. The Gilbert goons were living the white suburban dream. They were officially recognized as a gang by police, and were feared, respected, and making thousands of dollars per month. All while terrorizing the community, picking up assault charges, and then bonding out the next day just to do the same thing a week later.
Another case, though, right out of Gilbert, where this victim was beaten outside of an In-N-Out.
It ain't sweet in the burbs. Citizens should know better than to go grab a burger and fries without your blower. When 13-year-old Keener was declared an op, it was only going to be a matter of time until the Gilbert goons caught him lacking. So when bro went to go grab a burger at In-N-Out, one of the goons saw him lacking and they jumped out of their car and beat the brakes off him, nearly killing the young man.
No arrests have been made in this case. Now, a week ago, police released photos of the teens believed to be involved in this assault, asking for assistance in identifying them.
This is the suburban hood of Gilbert. Nobody snitches here. Look at the size of this goon. Would you want this beefed up country goon on your coattail? 'Cause I certainly wouldn't. This goon should be an offensive lineman for the Cardinals. Look at the size of those shoulders.
I'm grateful that it's open and we're making some progress, but I'm also frustrated as a parent that something didn't happen sooner. If any of these kids are the same kids that attacked Preston and they would have done the right thing, maybe Preston would be alive today.
Who was Preston and why did the Gilbert goons smoke him? Preston Lord was one of the kindest young men you will meet. He had a good head on his shoulders and wasn't involved in any of the deadly gangs in his suburban hood. Preston was more interested in playing Call of Duty and watching sports instead of thugging in the burbs. But when you live in a dangerous suburban hood, sometimes there's nothing you can do and you become a product of your environment. It was Halloween and Preston wanted to go out to a party with his buddies. When he got there, it was full of Gilbert goons. Despite Preston's concerns, him and his buddies decided to stay. The party was packed to the brim and the goons were starting to wild out. There was over 100 people there and the neighbors were getting concerned.
There must be 30 cars out in front of our house and the neighbors. Bunch of teenage kids doing all, I don't know, they're all running around.
There's too many cars. These kids are going to hit each other. Someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to get killed.
It was absolute chaos in the burbs. At the party, two individuals get into a heated argument. And it just so happens that Preston and his buddies are standing right next to the young men who are screaming at each other. This is when one of the kids at the party takes out his phone and starts recording the interaction for Snapchat. A high-ranking Gilbert goon member, Tristan Billy, realizes someone is recording him and confronts the situation. He demands that anyone recording to delete the video. Next thing you know, a fight breaks out. And they're throwing haymakers trying to do real damage. The adult homeowner then kicks everyone out, and when the last person leaves, he locks his gate. Once outside, Tristan and the goons start looking for trouble and begin instigating and taunting everyone. This is when Dominic Turner, who is known as the muscle for the Gilbert goons, decides it's a good time to hit a lick. So he approaches one of Preston's buddies and takes the chain right off his neck. Another Gilbert goon, Jacob Meisner, sees what is going down and walks up to the victim who just lost his chain, and cocks back and punches him square in the face, nearly breaking his nose. The Gilbert goons then start jumping on another one of Preston's friends for no reason, and he falls to the ground and breaks his wrist. At this point, everyone starts to run for their lives, while the Gilbert goons chase them, trying to hawk them down. They catch up to Preston and punch him in the back of the head, and he trips and falls to the ground. Like a pack of hyenas, within a matter of seconds, the goons surround Preston like he's prey. Once he is surrounded, the goons start kicking him in the head and punching him ruthlessly until he goes limp and there is a giant puddle of blood. Someone then calls the police and they try doing CPR, but unfortunately it's too late, and by the time the ambulance arrives, he is pronounced dead. Preston was a good kid that never did anything wrong, but was unfortunately at the wrong place at the wrong time. Jacob Pennington and William Owen Hines, even after Preston went limp, continued stomping on his head even though he never did anything to them. This crime was truly sickening. There ended up being a total of 7 Gilbert goons involved in catching this body.
7 people Queen Creek police submitted charges against are in custody and have been indicted. Billy, Turner, and Meisner, along with 18-year-old William Hines, 19-year-old Taylor Sherman, 17-year-old Talon Renner, and 17-year-old Talon Vigil, are all accused of first-degree murder and kidnapping. The indictment says all 7 suspects committed kidnapping before causing the death of Preston Lord.
How did we get here, and why are rich suburban kids forming gangs, catching bodies, and smoking on the ops? When drill music first started in Chicago over 10 years ago, it captivated the hearts of Americans and then later the entire world. Drill music has gotten so mainstream that there is drill beefs coming out of the hoods of Alaska. Imagine spinning the block in snow machines and spraying up the ops igloos, then doubling back on the ops riding a sled in huskies. These boys are really sliding, no pun intended. Smoking the ops and deadly drill beef has gotten so mainstream it's even made its way to Sweden, which is considered the happiest country in the world. Never judge a book by its cover. This pie-faced suburban driller was deep in the streets and was involved in a deadly back and forth with a rival gang. Swedish gangs DP and the Shutas were in a deadly gang war, and the beef and crimes they were committing was coming out in the music. Bodies were dropping, chains were getting snatched, and rivals were literally getting kidnapped. The pie-faced driller miner was at the center of a lot of the chaos. He was always dissing the dead ops and was making extremely disrespectful suburban drill music. Similar to how it is in Chicago, the more disrespectful the music, the more views it would get. But it was only a matter of time until things went left for the pie-faced driller. He was the big op, and his gang ties ended up costing the young man his life after he got chipped in a drive-by suburban hit.
He was involved with criminal gangs. He was involved in a stabbing just at the beginning of this month. He was kidnapped then last year, and he was supposed to testify against the gang that was suspected of kidnapping him next week. He was living under death threat, and last night then he was killed in a shooting in the center of Stockholm.
The deadly back-and-forth suburban gang war between the Shutas and DP ended up costing this young man his life. If gang violence can make its way all the way out to Sweden, then it shouldn't come as a surprise as to why a group of rich suburban kids in Arizona created their own gang called the Gilbert Goons. And the details that came out in court about what this gang was doing is absolutely crazy.
911 emergency.
Hey, I'm at a party, and
What's going on? Take a deep breath.
There's a bunch of people out here with guns and he just jumped my friend and he's knocked out on the ground. He was bleeding, and then I came over here because there's a bunch of people there telling me not to call the cops, but it's the safest thing to do. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. He's been unconscious for like 2 minutes. We need people over here. Are people on the way?
They're on the way, I promise.
I didn't get here fast. I did not want my friend.
That's okay. They're going lights and sirens as fast as they...
You can hear the terror in Preston's friend's voice, who had just watched his buddy get viciously beaten by a bunch of strapped-up suburban goons. And this 911 call was played at court, and the jurors were sickened by what happened. It also came out in court that a couple of the goons were dry-humping Preston's lifeless body in what they thought was a hilarious joke. Following the vicious attack, the Gilbert members were bragging to everyone in their suburban hood about catching a body and smoking a Preston pack. It was buzzing in the burbs, and parents were disgusted by the gang. High-ranking goon Jacob Meisner was the most egregious when it came to bragging about catching a body. There was a video floating around of Preston's death, and Jacob was sending the video of him killing Preston to all his boys and was really proud of the fact he was a made man and had his first body under his belt. The Gilbert Goons had no fear of the law, and for good reason. Jacob's dad, Travis Renner, has an estimated net worth of over $100 million, so he can pay for the best defense team possible for his gangbanging suburban thug of a son. Despite having every possible resource available to him, Jacob wanted to be a suburban driller instead of a millionaire like his father. And his dad was even trying to hide evidence and shift the blame onto someone else. He was using all his money and resources to hide evidence and shift the blame onto another kid who had a similar name. He was planning on hiding his son out at a cabin while the injuries he sustained while giving out the vicious beating healed. The whole family is full of suburban gang bangers. Jacob Renner's older brother, Renner, is a known trapper and high-ranking member of the Gilbert Goons. He has countless criminal arrests for the sale of ice and bars, along with multiple assault charges for vicious brass knuckle beatings he inflicted on the ops.
Mugshots were just released of 2 suspects arrested yesterday in connection to teen attacks in the East Valley.
If you see a 150-pound young man with a moppy bird's nest on his head flopping in the wind approaching you, it's best to run, cause this guy inflicts nothing but terror on his ops.
Arrested on allegations of 1 count of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, the felony charge, 2 counts of class 2 felonies on that, and 2 counts of aggravated assault with victim bound or restrained class 6 felony. I am going to find probable cause.
So as you heard there, Renner is facing assault charges. He, 19-year-old Gage Garrison, and a 17-year-old who has not been named were taken into custody yesterday. They are accused in a teen attack at a parking garage near Gilbert and Guadalupe roads back in December of 2022. Renner is also accused in an assault outside of a home near Higley and Riggs Road.
Why Kyler was involved in the sale of illegal substances when his father has over $100 million is beyond me. Maybe bro just loved being a goon. Even the $100 million man himself, Travis Renner, in 2024, Papa Goon, was arrested for possession of illegal substances. This is an entire family full of known suburban steppers and goons. Papa Goon was even bragging to his buddies about how his son caught a body and wasn't going to get in any trouble. Papa Goon is described as an alcoholic druggie who buys illegal substances off his son, the trap god of the burbs, Kyler. And Kyler was trapping everything in the burbs. The goon was flipping yayo tree mushrooms, e-pills, and bars. The school was now catching heat because only 2 weeks after catching a body, they allowed Tyler to play in a football game. It also came out that Papa Goon had sent the school $10,000 in donation money. Big Op Tyler was roaming the streets playing football and repping his set, and if police didn't do something about the Big Op soon, he was destined to catch another body. Police ended up issuing out an apology after it came out that Mama Goon and Papa Goon received special valet parking services from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. All signs were pointing to the fact that this suburban family of trappers, steppers, and goons was going to beat all charges and continue terrorizing their suburban hood. But evidence kept pulling up in court, and a majority of it came from social media. One of the goons involved in the body messaged one of his homeboys about how he hit a kid, and the rest of the Gilbert goons stomped his head in killing the young man. And William Hines told police officers verbatim, "Straight up bro, I was drunk and got lost in the moment." And he wasn't remorseful at all. Rather than laying low after catching a body, he continued terrorizing his suburban hood. It's December 22nd, and a teenage girl living in Gilbert invites 12 friends over while her mom is out watching a movie with her older brother. Word spreads, and a bunch of teens she doesn't know show up to her house. The Gilbert goons then show up and start robbing the place. They hit a big lick and get $16,000 worth of cash along with an $8,000 watch. But the goons didn't stop there. They stole a strap along with some of the family's most important documents. These guys were cold. They literally stole a marriage certificate and the death certificate for the victim's husband. The goons then bring the safe to a park, throw it on the ground a couple times until it eventually pops open, and the suburban jack boys take off with the strap and cash. The Gilbert goons would have gotten away with it had there not been surveillance cameras that filmed them leaving the house with a safe. But once again, none of the suburban goons got in any serious trouble, because a majority of the suburban jack boys were 17 years old at the time they were tried in juvenile court. And then for the other goons, the harshest sentence was given out to the getaway driver Michael Dennison, who was sentenced to 18 months probation. Seems like the goons once again got off easy after stealing an $8,000 watch, 16 grand worth of cash, and a blower. But the goons didn't stop there at a house party. Another serious incident went down. The Gilbert goons, who are never lacking, rolled up to a party with a bunch of blowers, and after getting into an argument, they whipped them out. The party was full of vanilla wafer snitches, and they called the police as soon as they saw the blowers. After the cops arrived, they heard a voice yelling from the car saying, "Blow this man down," and they proceeded to go on a high-speed chase. Eventually, the officers were able to conduct a high-risk traffic stop. The vehicle was searched, but no weapon was found, and the cops decided to call their parents and have them drive them home. No charges were ever filed regarding this incident. And then for Jacob Pennington, while out on bail for ending Preston's life, this Gilbert goon nearly caught another body and made a new Suburban pack.
Now, for now, the 20-year-old is charged with aggravated assault. The Pinal County Sheriff's Office says that he was involved in an attack on a 16-year-old back on November 18th near Wagon Wheel Road and Sand Dance Drive in Santan Valley. You can see a group of people here circling the teen whose face is blurred.
They then beat him viciously, but luckily the young man lived to see another day. Jacob Pennington clearly didn't learn his lesson because just 3 weeks ago he was arrested again.
One of the young men who was just sentenced for crimes involving teen violence in the East Valley was arrested again, and it happened only a short time after he was sentenced. We're talking about this guy, Jacob Pennington. Gilbert police say the 20-year-old was arrested on suspicion of underage drinking. Earlier that same day, he was sentenced for his role in a 2022 assault in Gilbert. He was also sentenced in connection to a November 2023 assault earlier in the week.
The Gilbert goons have ruined countless people's lives and took the life of a magnificent young man. I will keep you guys updated about what happens when they get sentenced. Rest in peace, Preston.